Hey everybody, welcome to Did You Hear About This? I'm Bill.
I'm Scott.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. Eagerly looking forward to tomorrow's Super Bowl.
That's right. Tomorrow, the Eagles and Chiefs, a rematch.
Big time.
I was at a restaurant last night and somebody started the Eagles chant because for you out there, if you don't know, we're right outside of Philadelphia. And somebody started the Eagles chant and the table next to me, the guy started booing.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
And I was like, oh, it pissed me off. And then about 5 minutes later, the other drunk guy who started the Eagles chant the first time did it again.
Of course he did. You forgot he did it the first time.
Right.
Like, this will be funny.
Yeah. I'll just keep doing this all night. That's fun. So I had a couple beers in me, and I had a couple 9%ers that I didn't realize were 9%ers. So I got the alcohol balls.
Yeah.
And as soon as they did the Eagles chant, I turned around to this guy and go, "Don't you start booing. Keep your mouth shut." And his wife was like applauding me, like secretly behind him applauding me.
He's probably a fucking Dallas fan.
He might be. Who
Dallas
knows?
sucks.
But then evidently I turned around, he flipped me the finger. Amy saw it and didn't tell me. She's like, I didn't want to start, see anything get started there.
Ah, well.
I had my beer muscles.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. You're throwing a big party.
You're coming.
You know what happened last time you threw a big party?
They won.
Big parade down Broad Street.
That's right. Would you go to that parade?
I don't think I would.
I would love to.
I really wanted to go to the Phillies parade when they won the World Series, and I didn't, and I regret not going. Football crowds are just such a different crowd than a baseball crowd.
They're animals.
They're fucking nuts. An 18-year-old kid just died climbing a light pole in Philadelphia.
Just died?
Yeah, when they won the NFC championship.
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
Oh, yeah, kid fell off a light pole. They greased him up. The kid still climbed it, fell down and killed himself.
Oh, amazing. We are not a sophisticated bunch of human beings.
We are not.
We like to think we are.
Yeah, no, we're not.
Did you hear about the Super Bowl logo conspiracy?
I've read about this a little bit. Yeah.
What do you know about it?
I guess, 4 out of the past 5 years, the Super Bowl logo that is unveiled the February prior to the Super Bowl, the colors of that logo have predicted the teams that were going to go to the following year's Super Bowl?
Something like that, yeah. So,
along those lines, yeah.
So this Super Bowl 59, which is LIX, licks, I like that.
Okay, yeah,
so
it is.
Last February, they revealed that it is red, mostly red with some touches of green.
See, I didn't see green in it.
It's really faint. It's in the back. It's like in the outline of the interior design.
I don't know. There was one where it was the Rams and the Chiefs a few years ago, right? And that was like red and yellow. But like the yellow was so faint and it wasn't even the same color as the Rams. It felt like a stretch.
Well, there's people out there that are convinced that the entire NFL is rigged, and they have already predetermined who they wanted to be in the Super Bowl, and that's why the colors were picked the way they were picked.
Well, did you see the other thing that's going around social media? They already have the Superdome in New Orleans has congratulations, Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl 59 champions up on the dome. And there's like pictures of this already.
Really?
Yeah, but of course they're going to test the graphics for both teams, regardless of the outcomes. They're ready. They're not going to do like a fucking cold run at the end of the game and hope it happens.
Right.
But no, this is the thing. Like, Eagles are going to win because they already have it up on the Superdome.
I used to work at a company that had NFL Shop as a client.
Yeah, I remember this.
Yeah, and they would make Super Bowl, the Eagles won or the Chiefs won. They would have the shirts ready and printed to go, knowing they could only sell half of them.
You've seen the old meme, right?
No.
Yeah, there was a meme. It went around when the Eagles lost to the Chiefs 2 Super Bowls ago. Like, not the last one, but the one prior. And they had, like, a little African kid, and he was like, Eagles Super Bowl championship T-shirts coming tomorrow. Because that's what they do. They dump the shirts they can't sell, like in third world countries.
Yeah, that's what I heard. That's what I heard they did. I don't know that for sure, but that's hilarious.
It was a good meme.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, the conspiracy theory that the NFL has already picked the winner of the Super Bowl, or at least who was going to the Super Bowl, I just, I can't buy into that at all.
Well, here's my thing. Who cares about the logo? Look at the referees and the fucking officiating. That's going to tell you who they want to win.
Well, yeah, and the refs seem to be, I don't know if you watch a lot of Chiefs games.
I've watched too many Chiefs games.
It does seem like the refs are favoring them. But I don't believe that either. I just don't believe it. I don't believe they rig football. And you know what? If you were going to assume the Eagles were going to this year's Super Bowl, They played terribly last year.
Yeah, especially going down the stretch.
The NFL had no idea that the Eagles would be this good this year and that they'd even have a chance, even with refs pulling for them, to get anywhere near the Super Bowl. Yeah, it's all nonsense.
Oh, I don't think, and this is going to sound biased being an Eagles fan, but I don't think that the Eagles got there. My biggest complaint is that the Chiefs are the ones that are getting the favorite calls. And particularly Patrick Mahomes. He is basically the modern day Tom Brady who gets every single roughing the passer, every single anything, illegal hands to the face. He gets all the fucking calls. It's Mahomes in particular that's the one that's getting all the favoritism.
And I guess I understand the conspiracy theory because if you hurt your quarterback, the league will sell a lot less jerseys if he's out for the season. Like that kind of thing. Yeah, I hear you.
All I'm saying is the bullshit calls that I've seen Mahomes get throughout this season and last season and the season before that take me right back to 2001 with Tom Brady and the fucking Tuck rule that got the Patriots to the Super Bowl that started that whole fucking dynasty.
Yeah. Well, you hear everybody complains about Mahomes is flopping.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's what I'm talking about. Like, he'll take a late slide, and then they come over and they hit him, and he's just like, oh, roughing the passer, late hit.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you. This isn't a sports show, but I could, yeah, not a fan. Not a fan.
Well, let's get into the show, unless there's any fuck-upperies or anything that you know of from last episode.
I don't have a fuck-uppery, but I do have an update. I was forwarded a clip of Drunk History in response to last week's Mona Lisa show.
Okay.
And there was an episode where Jack Black played the handyman at the Louvre that stole the Mona Lisa. And you had asked me last episode, how did the Mona Lisa end up in France? I talked about being painted in Florence and how did it end up in France in the first place before it got stolen. And I was like, I don't know. Every story I read was just like, oh, it's just there. Well, in the Drunk History episode, now again, I don't know how historically accurate the Drunk History episode is. It's by definition being told by a drunk person, but the guy that stole the painting was an Italian that was just like, oh, Napoleon Bonaparte stole this. That fucking Frenchman stole this painting and brought it to the city of France and stole it from the Italian people. And me, as an Italian, I'm taking it back to my people. So when they found it in Florence, that was his whole big defense. Like, I'm returning stolen property. And when he was on trial, apparently, again, according to Drunk History, the judge was like, no, none of that's true. The painting of the Mona Lisa was gifted to the King of France by Leonardo da Vinci, and everything you're saying is just complete horseshit. But, you know, we like your patriotism and no harm, no foul, and you don't have to serve any more time. So he kind of got off with it.
I love dumb criminal stories.
This is one of them. And again, none of this was covered in any of the documentaries or articles or anything I read, but Drunk History gave me the answer, and it was perfectly well acted by Jack Black. And I have to say, we talked a couple episodes back how like, oh man, his fucking time is over. He's doing this stupid Minecraft thing. I watched that Drunk History, and I also watched some Tenacious D videos on YouTube, and I don't think I'm sick of him as much as I thought I was.
Oh, really?
I'm not sick of old Jack Black. Like, that shit was good. I'm not looking forward to Minecraft.
Yeah, I'm certainly not looking forward to Minecraft.
But today, I'm going to go back to another episode. I mentioned the Guinness Book of World Records a few episodes back, and you were like, yeah, I really don't know much about it. I'm going to do a deep dive into the Guinness Book.
All right. Well, I got a story for you to see if you've heard about this. Speaking of dumb criminals, the kidnapping of Frank Sinatra Jr.
I know a little bit about this.
Do you?
I do.
Well, let's jump in. What story do you want to start with?
You go first.
All right. Well, as usual, I like to write my stories out and try to read them poorly to you. You're more of a, you got notes and you like to riff.
Yeah, I'm pen and paper here, and we'll see if I stick to script. But go ahead, you first.
You can tell that we're older because we're using pen and paper and like printed. I still print things out on a printer. Most people are just looking at their phones, and most podcasters just riff right off their phones.
Nah, fuck that.
Nah, my eyes aren't good enough for that. All right, so I call this the kidnapping of Frank Sinatra Jr., Hollywood's dumbest crime. On December 8th, 1963, the world was still reeling from the assassination of President John F. Kennedy just weeks earlier, But in the midst of the national tragedy, another bizarre and lesser-known crime was about to unfold, one that would involve one of the biggest names in entertainment, a ransom demand of $240,000, and three of the dumbest criminals in Hollywood history.
Even that doesn't sound like a lot of money right from the get-go. $240,000?
That today would be $2.3 million with inflation.
Yeah, I guess it was the late 60s. Okay,
I know,
all right.
It sounds like such a...
Yeah.
It's like
that's like not even $250,000.
It's exactly that scene from Austin Powers.
$1 million.
I want $1 million. $1 million, yeah, I can write you a check right now for that. That's nothing. Frank Sinatra Jr. was 19 years old, following in his famous father's footsteps as a singer. So he was trying to, start his own
he was
career.
A crooner, yep.
That night, he was staying at Harrah's Lodge in Lake Tahoe, preparing for a performance. Sinatra Sr. was performing nearby. He was only 12 miles away. He had some casino that he was playing at that he partially owned.
Talk about riding your old man's coattails and nepotism, huh?
Yeah, I mean, just imagine how close they actually were to this.
I wonder how big they put Junior on the marquee. Just like Frank Sinatra, Junior.
Right. So around 9 p.m., two armed men burst into Sinatra Jr.'s hotel room. They tied up his friend, John Foss, who was sitting in the room like, what the hell is going on here? They tie him up. He was Sinatra Jr.'s trumpet player.
Oh, okay.
So they tie him up. They force Sinatra Jr. out of the room at gunpoint, right? Blindfolded Sinatra Jr. and drove him to a safe house at Canoga Park, Los Angeles. So they went all the way
From Tahoe to... Okay.
Yeah. So the kidnapping was orchestrated by this guy named Barry Keenan, a former high school classmate of Nancy Sinatra, right? So Nancy is the sister of Frank Jr.
Right.
So that makes Keenan about 23 years old because that's what Nancy was.
So
at that
4
time.
years older than the kid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, this guy's a kid too.
Right.
Keenan had been a promising student before a car accident left him addicted to opioid painkillers.
It happens.
He quickly spiraled into financial ruin, convincing himself that the best way out was to kidnap the son of the most famous singer in the world.
Sure. That's a natural progression of thought.
Yeah, why not? Why not? But Keenan didn't see this as a crime, Scott. He literally thought of it as a business deal. All right? Now, the things I read said Keenan's mental health wasn't totally right, and he was addicted to opioids, so he sees this as a business deal. He believed Frank Sinatra Sr. would pay the ransom, to which Keenan would eventually pay Sinatra back with interest.
Okay. All right, that's some convoluted thinking right there.
For example, he took detailed notes about what he was going to do with this money. So 25% of the money that he took was going to be for the stock market. He was going to play the stock market. 25% was for a future business venture, which we don't really know what that was. 15% was paying his accomplices and covering his personal debt because he had gone into debt. And 20% was living expenses. There was 15% for an emergency fund just in case something went south.
A rainy day,
So he's thinking about this entire crime like he's building a plan for a business.
So $240,000 was like very much intricately planned for, and every dollar was accounted.
Every dollar was accounted for, and he knew how he was going to make money back to pay Frank Sr. back with interest. Like he literally...
With a business plan like that, he'd been better off just going to a bank.
Right. I
mean, he had no collateral, and he would have been laughed at and denied, but this is an alternative, I guess.
I mean, is he dumb?
Yeah.
But this is still kind of clever for a dumb guy. I wrote, this was a man who thought he was running a startup, except instead of selling a product, he was abducting a celebrity's son.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he was doing.
That's what he did.
So once Sinatra Jr. was taken to the safe house in Los Angeles, the kidnappers, including Keenan and his accomplices Joe Amsler and Johnny Irwin, got to work. They demanded that ransom of $240,000. The kidnappers had Frank Sinatra Sr. called by a third party, right? Some unidentified middleman, rather than directly contacting themselves. So they're trying to think ahead. They're like, we're going to get somebody else to do it so they can't trace the phones.
Right.
They were so worried about their calls getting traced. So meanwhile, Frank Sinatra Sr., right, he goes into full panic mode. He gets the call from this unidentified middleman. They're like, we have your son. We want a ransom. And he's in full panic mode.
Well, he was connected. You know who he's calling next.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
So he immediately contacted FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover.
Mm-hmm.
You're so powerful, you get direct connection to J. Edgar Hoover. And within hours, the
J.
FBI...
Edgar Hoover, who was wearing lingerie at the time. Allegedly.
Allegedly. He's not here to sue us, so...
That's true.
So within hours, the Bureau was all over the case, but the kidnappers had one simple demand. Sinatra must use payphones to communicate so they would never be able to be traced by Sinatra's, own phone.
Was this a technology that was like big at the time, like phone tracing?
I think that was all over the TV shows.
It
like,
must have
we
been.
could trace your phone. So they're like, we're going to make Sinatra always have to call us from payphones.
Huh.
So this led to a bizarre and desperate situation where Frank Sinatra Sr. was literally running from payphone to payphone, carrying a roll of dimes so he wouldn't run out of change.
This reminds me of Die Hard 4 with the one with Samuel L. Jackson, where they had to like answer payphones to do the riddles and shit.
That's right. I forgot about that. The experience left such an impact on Sinatra that for the rest of his life, he carried a roll of dimes in his pocket at all times. And when Sinatra died in 1998, he was buried with a roll of dimes in his pocket.
Oh, I thought he was just happy to see me.
This section is called the clumsy finale. I like that. I like what I come up with. The kidnappers told Sinatra to have money delivered in a black doctor's bag to a designated drop-off spot. The FBI photographed the money before it was delivered so they could track the serial numbers later. So after securing the ransom money, the kidnappers decided to just release Sinatra Jr. right in Bel Air. Just go ahead and walk out the door. Just go on out.
What?
Yep. They gave him bus fare. They just sent him on his way. So Sinatra Jr. knocked on a stranger's door, explained who he was, and the police were called. The whole ordeal lasted just 54 hours. So he just walked right out, went to a neighbor.
It's a long weekend.
And he just said, yeah, I'm Frank Sinatra's son, and I was just kidnapped. Can I use your phone? Just like that. But like any good criminal, you should always keep your mouth shut. Our boy Keenan, terrible criminal. He immediately started telling people what he did.
So he wouldn't have gotten caught any other way had he not shut his mouth off.
Yeah, I wonder if Sinatra Jr. would have been able to trace it back. Like, hey, this just happened. I just walked down the street.
Like, here's the safe house. How would this person have had access to the safe house? Let's figure that out.
Yeah.
But if you're going to tell people, I mean, you save the police a lot of work.
Yeah, maybe they abandoned the safe house and they fled. I don't know. That part I'm not clear on.
Okay.
But it's like if they let you walk right out the door, you go to the next door neighbor, you say, hey, I was just kidnapped right there. Call the police. The police come say, I was just kidnapped right there. You'd think they would catch the criminals right away.
I would think so.
They caught him because this Barry guy, he had a big mouth and he just started telling people about what he did. He was bragging to his friends about how he pulled it off. And one of the friends went straight to the FBI. And within a week, the 3 kidnappers were arrested.
Dumb.
So despite the overwhelming evidence, Sinatra Jr. found himself the target of a bizarre conspiracy theory. A lot of tabloids and skeptics at the time claimed that he had staged this kidnapping.
See, I thought he was in on it, but that was just tabloid talk?
That's tabloid talk.
See, I thought he was in on it. I didn't realize that he wasn't.
A lot of people think that.
Okay.
A lot of people thought he did that to try to elevate his career.
Now, I wasn't completely familiar with this story. I thought that was like known fact that he was a part of it, but that's not the case.
Not according to the information I have.
Because Frank Sinatra Jr. still performs as a musician, right?
Barely. If you look hard enough under a rock, you might find him.
I'm sure he's probably still out in Tahoe.
Well, evidently, people think that because he set this up, or they thought he did, that killed his career. Like he couldn't
Oh, it did?
Yeah, he never really got big.
No.
Nancy Sinatra got bigger than he did.
Oh, her boots were made for walking.
They walked right over him. They walked right on him. So yeah, some people say that he never was able to get a career going because this stigma of this thing that he, quote, did to himself, which he did or maybe he didn't, actually ruined the chances of him getting a good career.
I guess my question is, where would that story have like originated? Like, who would think that? Just blaming the victim? It's not like he had like Stockholm syndrome or he like was sympathetic towards his kidnappers or anything.
I just think that's the way people think. We were talking about conspiracy theories with this, Super Bowl logo.
That's true. That is good. All right. Point taken. I stand down.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that'll right away assume, oh, there's shenanigans going on.
He did it.
Meanwhile, the kidnappers got off shockingly easy. Barry Keenan served 4.5 years in prison. After his release, he went on to become a successful real estate developer and even paid Sinatra Sr. back the ransom money, though not with interest. In later interviews, he downplayed the whole thing as a bad business deal, completely oblivious to how serious the crime really was.
My God.
Yeah.
Wow, that's certainly a way to look at it.
Yeah. So closing here, the kidnapping left a deep mark on Frank Sinatra Sr. He was already known for his alleged ties to the mafia.
Yeah.
And some speculated that he had quietly sent a message to the underworld to deal with the kidnappers. Nothing was ever proven, but people close to Sinatra say that if the FBI hadn't caught the kidnappers first, the kidnappers might not have lived to see the trial.
I believe that.
For Frank Sinatra Jr., the event overshadowed his career while he continued to perform for decades. He never escaped the shadow of that 54-hour ordeal. People couldn't get past the story to take him seriously as a performer.
Okay.
So that's it. I mean, Sinatra Jr., this is fascinating.
Damn.
I never heard this until I just found this
really?
story. Yeah, this was new to me.
Wow. Yeah, I thought that he was a big part of like planning it. He was the mastermind behind the whole thing.
Yeah, a lot of people did.
Wow, so I learned something new here. Frank Sinatra did not kidnap himself, although some people think that is the case.
I don't understand the love for this. There isn't much love for Sinatra anymore, but there was when I was young.
Oh, he was huge.
He was huge.
Whatever. Not my thing.
I always heard stories about him just being like super powerful, but how do you
Yeah.
know if they were true?
I don't know. I'm sure in certain circles.
Yeah. Well, that's the old days. And that's my story.
You know me, I don't have any love for musicians from New Jersey. I mean, I don't get Bruce Springsteen. I barely get John Bon Jovi. I just don't know. Sinatra's just another one of those guys.
I think we talked about this rumor that's just a rumor. I don't know how true it is, but evidently Howard Stern used to make fun of Sinatra so
We
bad.
mentioned that a couple times on here.
Did we?
Yeah. Put a
just-
hit out on him.
Yeah, put a hit out on him and killed the wrong guy. Found a guy that looked like Howard and killed him.
Yeah.
Is that true? Who the hell knows?
knows?
But it's very possible. It's possible. If Frank was that connected. But I would listen to Frank Sinatra music. My ex-wife's parents loved him. It was
Yeah.
always playing in the house.
Yeah.
And I just heard a guy just phoning it in. I mean, he really didn't sound like he was trying to sing that well.
That's why the lady's a tramp. He did it his way.
We'll do it my way.
That recording was his last performance, I think, before he died. Like, he really was at the end. That's like basing all Elvis music on Fat Elvis.
Well, that's all I ever heard at my ex-wife's family's house.
It was probably like the newest recording at the time.
Oh, it was all the old stuff where he was just talking. He wasn't even trying to sing.
Yeah. Ring-a-ding-ding, baby.
But I guess you're right. When I think of old, young Sinatra, he was a
Better.
He was a singer.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I got.
All right. So, you want to hear about the Guinness Book?
I do.
All right.
What
So-
if I said no?
Well, hey, thanks for listening. Tell a friend. And we'll see you next week. Well, I mentioned the Guinness Book a few weeks back. I forget why we were even talking about the Guinness Book. Do you recall?
No. Yeah, it was Guinness beer.
Well, yeah, I'd mentioned that it was connected to the Guinness Brewing Company, and I'll get a little bit into that. But the book itself, it was actually created back in 1955. So it's celebrating its 70th anniversary this year. So this year's book is the 70th edition of the Guinness Book of World Records.
Where do you get the book? It's not even bookstores anymore.
Yeah, you can go to Barnes & Noble.
I do remember having a copy of one version back when I was a kid.
I remember going to the school library and they had one in there, and I was like, this is amazing. Who'd have thought? The longest necks?
Yeah.
Weird shit like that. Yeah. So it was actually created by Sir Hugh Beaver.
No way.
Hugh Beaver.
That's the best name.
I thought so too. I have it circled. Yeah, so Hugh created this back in 55, and the book has grown to become a massive success. According to Wikipedia, it is currently published in 100 different countries, in 40 different languages, and it maintains over 53,000 records in its database.
Damn.
Right?
Damn. Is there like a whole little organization running this?
Yes, there is. There is. They're based out of London. And it was originally based out of London as well. But beyond books, you see, where do you buy a book these days? Guinness Records is actually becoming an international brand, or it has become an international brand, and it's trying to move away from just printed text and really get more into the world of television, museums, publicity stunts, things like that. But the business model, they're really trying to change it to keep up with like the current times and the current media. Because to your point, who the hell's buying books anymore?
I was just thinking, yeah, don't they have location? No, that's Ripley's, believe it or not.
Ripley's is one of their main competitors, actually.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. The funny thing is, like, they cover the same people, you know? So, like, they consider Guinness to be like the organization that verifies and confirms that this is the world's heaviest person, the world's oldest lady. You know, they're the ones that are actually going out there and doing it. And Ripley's just kind of like presents this in their museums.
Yeah, right.
So, but there have been museums by Guinness that's out there. In fact, if you go to the Guinness Brewery at St. James Gate, and I think I mentioned this before, they do have a whole floor dedicated to records.
Okay.
So a little bit of history. Where did this all begin? You know, what kind of person starts caring or giving a shit about these records? Well, we're going back to Hugh Beaver. He was actually the managing director of Guinness Brewing at the time. And in 1951, he was actually bird hunting in Ireland. And he took a shot at apparently a golden plover is a kind of bird that they have in Northern Ireland. He takes a shot, this bird flies away. He's like, damn, that's the fastest bird that there is. No surprise I missed it. Fastest bird in all of Europe. Apparently somebody else in the hunting party goes, no. The fastest bird in all of Europe is actually the red grouse. So this argument keeps going and going and going. So now the argument is golden plover, red grouse. Well, he's not one to back down from a fucking argument. And really, this whole conversation, this whole argument reminds me of Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
I was thinking the same thing.
They talk about like the African swallow or the European swallow, and it just goes back and forth.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this puts a whole new light on that whole skit for me.
It could be carried by an African swallow. Oh, yeah, an African swallow may be, but not a European swallow. That's my point.
Well, as I said, never one to back down from an argument. Beaver attempted to actually research the topic and prove himself that he was right. But you found that no reference book that existed in the world could answer this question.
I'm like Beaver. I like to stand up for what I think is right and hope to God after I make an argument, I go and I research it just to tell myself, yeah, you were right. You were right.
Well, he could not find anything to help his cause. And in doing this research, he realized that there must be hundreds of other arguments that are being had on a daily basis that have no way of being settled. So he saw this opportunity and he actually commissioned these two brothers, Norris and Ross McWhirter. And they were actually running this fact-finding agency, it said, in London. And he hired them to compile data to put this book together.
What's a fact-finding agency?
I don't know. There were just two guys that had a business that was just like, hey, figure out the truth behind this. And they're like, okay.
How does that make money?
I don't know. This is off of this was Wikipedia, yeah. I don't know.
That's funny. I like that. I like that business existed.
I put it in quotes. Fact-finding agency. So anyway, they do what they're told. And the first book was actually published in 1954. They printed 1,000 copies, and they actually just gave it out for free to local pubs across Britain and Ireland. And it was done as a promotion for Guinness Brewing.
Clever. Okay.
Yeah. So this was just almost like a pamphlet, 1,000 printings of a pamphlet that you'd see like sitting on the bar at a pub. But the following year,
you don't see that anymore. We used to see that all the time. Just little free magazines in bars.
Yeah, it went from that. It turned into that stupid arcade game at the end of the bar where you can flick footballs.
Yeah, right.
And now it's just nothing.
Now it's nothing. No, every once in a while I go into a bar and I see those little games. I don't even play them. You ever play them?
Yeah, I used to.
Yeah,
back in the day. Well, the first official edition was called the Guinness Book of Superlatives. And this was published in 1955. And it was actually the best-selling book in Britain that year.
Wait, so it's not a pamphlet anymore. It's a book.
Now it's an official book
sale.
in 55. That's why 55 is the first official year. That's why this is the 70th anniversary.
And it's backed by the Agency of Fact Finders. So we know all this is true because the Agency of Fact Finders is helping to publish this book.
Norris and Ross McWhirter, they had their fact-finding agency. That's who compiled all this information.
What a lucky break for them.
So in 1956, the following year, the book was actually introduced to the United States, and they sold 70,000 copies that first year.
Damn, people were into it.
Way into it. Now, as I mentioned, the Guinness database, they keep track of over 53,000 records. I actually went to the website, and they divide the records up into 20 different categories. And I'll read them off to you here. And I actually picked out some of my favorite. So if you go to the official Guinness website, GuinnessWorldRecords.com, you can see this. Of the 20, they have animals, arts and crafts, celebrities, dedication or collections, fashion and makeup, food and drink, gaming, the human body, learning, marathons, mass participation, money, most popular, nature, size, speed, sports and strength, structures, technology and internet, and transportation. So that's how you divide up all the different categories.
So where does the guy who can smash the most plates over his head, where does that fit in?
Probably sports and strength, or maybe the human body, or maybe speed. I don't know. You could maybe cross-reference them a couple different ways. So I picked some of my favorite here, and I'll read them off to you. I picked 3 of them that I think are hilarious. And then we can pull it up and see if you have any favorites of your own here. The longest time breath held voluntarily underwater. Do you have any guess what the longest time somebody held their breath underwater was?
Oh, God.
And I love that they had to make it say voluntarily. Like, they weren't just drowning and then popped back up. Like, they actually wanted to do this.
They were dunking him. Guinness was dunking him.
And he's dead.
What's the longest somebody can hold their breath? And this is current.
This is current.
To today.
This record was broken in 2021.
I don't understand the person who wants to break these records. Like, I want to practice my whole life. My dream is to be in the Guinness Book of World Records. But anyway, all right, I'm going to guess it's 5 minutes.
You are way off.
Way off.
Way off.
After conditioning yourself, I would assume like you can do it long. I could do a minute and a half.
Well, Budimir Sobat of Sisak, Croatia, on March 27th, 2021, broke the record by holding his breath for 24 minutes.
Holy shit.
37.36 seconds.
When I was a kid, I used to do these holding your breath contests in the pool with my friends, and I remember getting to a minute and a half and being all proud.
24 minutes.
How?
I have no fucking idea.
You condition yourself to do it.
I guess.
Every day you practice holding your breath.
He's a free diver. That's his hobby. So he just dives without a tank.
He's a dolphin.
Basically.
Wow.
Amazing. So I thought that one stood out to me because I like that it said voluntarily, which made me think, like, is there an involuntary how long you held your breath for? There wasn't.
No.
But how about the most pubs visited? This one rang true to our former lives of going to the bar a lot. What do you think and this is a dumb one, but what do you think the number of most pubs visited was?
By one person.
By one person. And here's a hint. He lives in the UK.
How can you even validate it?
That's what I question. That's why I think it's a dumb one.
Well, it's going to be an outrageous number. Maybe it'll be 1,000.
Okay. Bruce Masters of Flintwick, UK, visited 46,495 pubs
Stop.
and various drinking establishments, it says in quotes, since 1960.
How can you
But
validate?
who in the fuck who's following him? There's no adjudicator that was following him around for the past 50, 60 years.
Well, you know how many pubs I've been to? 47,000.
That's right. Prove that in.
Prove me wrong.
That's right.
Well, that's a weird one.
I don't care for that one. This one was under the celebrity status, and I think it also cross-referenced underneath the internet one. Who was the first to accumulate 100 million followers on Twitter? I guess currently known as X.
Right. Who was the first? Give me a year. Do you have a year?
2017.
I'm thinking
It was the Did You Hear About This podcast?
Hey, we did it.
No, it was not. It was not.
Oh, no.
But in the vein of that, hey, be sure to like and subscribe.
I like it. Good segue.
Do all those things. No, it actually happened June 16th, 2017.
Is that Kim Kardashian or Taylor Swift?
It was Katy Perry.
Katy Perry.
Yep. And she also holds, I guess she's the current holder of the most Twitter followers. Or again, X, I guess.
And even that, how can you validate? Because people are buying Twitter followers like crazy.
Sure.
Well, they were.
But she was the first. So even if people were buying, it doesn't say she legitimately got it. She just got it. She was the first to hit 1 million.
And who's validating any of this? Like, there's no auditor going to the Guinness book saying, you're making this shit up.
On the website, you can actually go and hit apply. So you can like apply for a world record, and they will send an adjudicator out to like watch you do your attempt.
And that I've heard. Every once in a while, I've seen something where somebody was trying some crazy thing and there was somebody there from Guinness.
Right.
But you can't, I'm calling shenanigans on some of these.
Well, there were some really stupid ones too. Like I said, when I was a kid at the school library reading some of these things, it was like, oh, the world's tallest man. And it was like Ludlow, the guy's name is. He was an Englishman. And, the world's fattest woman and the world's oldest lady. And there's all kinds of things like that. But now I'm looking it up and it was, the world's fastest marathon. Okay, the world's fastest marathon. That is a good sports record. That's a good thing to keep. That's a world record. But then it's like the world's fastest marathon while dressed as an elf. Well, who gives a shit? Like how niche, how stupid. Like world's fastest marathon while wearing your shoes on the opposite feet. Like who cares? That's where they lost me. It got real like stupid.
Well, while you were just talking, I went to AI and I asked it for some of the dumbest world records ever recorded from Guinness.
Okay.
All right. So got to take everything AI gives you with a grain of salt. But the most Big Macs eaten in a lifetime.
I saw this on the website.
Donald Gorski has eaten over 32,000 Big Macs since 1970. Most T-shirts worn at once. A guy stacked 250 shirts in one go. Longest fingernails on a single hand. Some dude didn't cut his nails for 66 years and they curled like crazy.
Yeah, that's just bad hygiene. That's not a record.
God, did you imagine seeing that?
No.
Ugh. That's so gross.
There was a world record for the individual that holds the most world records. And there was a guy from New Jersey that held like 270 different Guinness World Records, including walking in the heaviest sneakers, which, again, how fucking stupid is that?
Pretty dumb.
Really dumb.
Here's one. The fastest time to eat a bowl of pasta with no hands. Most straws stuffed in a mouth. The record is 459, in case you were wondering.
59 like plastic straws? Yeah. Wow, I feel bad for the turtles.
What is this one? The furthest distance to squirt milk from the eye.
Oh. How about, is Kenneth Keith in there for squirting smoke out his eye?
No, I don't think he made it.
Oh,
because he got beat by a Turkish guy who managed to shoot milk 9 feet 2 inches from his eye.
That's impressive, though.
Gross. Ugh. And why milk? Why not water?
Do they have, like, longest distance from pissing in a urinal?
No.
It'd be funny, though. Bank shot!
I heard they were once making video games. I think it's in, like, China or Japan. They have video games like
at the urinal?
Yeah,
I heard about
you hit
this.
targets and you can see the screen and see how well your
aim is.
urine stream aim is. How about the most watermelons smashed with the head in 1 minute? The answer is 49. That'll give you a headache. That'll give you that could give you a migraine.
Fucking A.
I mean, watermelons aren't like, they're kind of firm. Most toilet seats broken by a head in 1 minute?
Who would do that?
Some guy did 46 toilet seats broken by his head in 1 minute.
But there's wooden toilet seats. There's those padded toilet seats. Are they all standard toilet seats? Like, I need to have parameters on that.
I know, I do too. I hate this. Fastest time to eat a raw onion.
Ugh.
Longest time balancing a lawnmower on the chin.
I've seen this, actually. It was one of those push mowers.
I guess. Over
Yeah.
3 minutes.
Okay, good for you. But again, who gives a shit?
Who gives a shit?
Well, let's take it back to the OG question. What is the fastest bird in Europe? Was it the golden plover or was it the red grouse?
I have no idea.
That was neither. They were both fucking wrong. So of these two, the golden plover was the fastest. So Mr. Hugh Beaver here was actually, I'm sorry, Sir Hugh Beaver was right here in his argument. However, the red-breasted merganser, which is a diving duck, actually has a top speed of 81 miles per hour and is the fastest game bird in all of Europe.
So a duck beats everything.
Duck beat everything.
How about that? See, that's what this show is about.
So I bet you didn't hear about this.
It's about learning some crazy dumb shit.
Dumb shit, but not as dumb as what they published in some of the stories there in Guinness.
Right.
Oh, another thing that that guy that walked in the heaviest sneakers that held like 270 different, it was like, how many baseballs can you hold in a baseball glove in your hand? He held like 27 baseballs. I'm like, who cares?
Yeah, some of these, they're all who cares, but you got to give them some credit for coming up with these stupid ideas. Like, there's some genius in that. I could never come up with that dumb idea.
But again, like that one that was the fastest marathon. Okay, impressive. The fastest marathon while dressed as a star or dressed as an elf? Who gives a shit? Like that, I don't care. They have the fastest marathon while dribbling a basketball. That's impressive. The fastest marathon while juggling. Great. That's impressive. What you're wearing and what you're dressed as has no impressive addition to the actual feat of running the fastest.
Let's come up with our own right now. How about the most wipes you can give yourself without getting a hemorrhoid?
Most Q-tips used without going deaf.
That's a good one.
Most bottles of whiskey drank without going blind.
Ooh, I almost had that record when I was younger. Oh, that's funny, man. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah. So I do feel that the quality of the records have diminished. I think they kind of went after the quantity of records at that 53,000 mark, and the quality of the actual record itself is just not as impressive. But I guess if you're publishing the same book every year for 70 years, there's not going to be that much turnover.
Yeah,
to your
I
point,
guess.
Who's trying to go out and break these records?
Right.
Yeah.
Crazy people.
Now, they do have some records where it's like the oldest person ever, and it's like the oldest person currently living. So things like that change a lot, but not enough to sell another edition the next year, you know?
Yeah, right.
I remember even when I was in high school, they kind of started to jump the shark. They would make like holographic covers on the books and try to make it real cool for the kids to look at, but it felt even then it was less official looking.
I remember the books. Yeah, they were small books, but they were thick.
Yeah. Black covers, had the Guinness logo on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you have it, man. That's all I know about the Guinness book.
All right. Well, that is everything, I guess, for today's show.
But all I want from tomorrow is an Eagles win. Go Birds. Let's hope this ages well when you're listening to this on Monday morning. I don't look like a giant asshole.
I'll be going to New York on Monday morning, Monday and Tuesday for my birthday. I'm turning 50. I never thought
That's
I'd make
right.
it to 50.
Happy birthday, you old bastard.
As a kid, I thought 50 was just the oldest you could get. There's,
Up till right now, you're right. It is the oldest you got.
well, yeah, but any quality of life after 50, I just assumed there was none. So who knows?
Prove your younger self wrong.
I'm already feeling like I'm at the end of my rope here. I'm sore every day, tired all the time. I had some hard living as a kid, so now I'm worn out.
Ah, damn. Yeah, by the time the next episode drops, you and I will both have had a birthday.
That's right. You have a Valentine's Day
I
birthday.
do. So here's to getting older. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll talk to you when we're another year older, another year wiser, and we'll bring you some more shit you didn't hear about. Tell a friend, and we'll talk to you next time.
Not sure we'll be wiser. That seems like a lost cause.